welcome to this week's episode of the People's Voice DC. Today we have a special guest known as the Resource Queen, Ward 8's very own Patrice Lancaster, joined by my co-host Chris Otton. And Chris just went somewhere. Chris will be back. And I believe that's Chris coming back now. And Lady, hi. How is everyone today?
I'm great.
Hey, blessed by the best, gonna pray for the rest.
I know that's right. I know that's right. So I want to start off something a little different, something I've seen but I like, and it's an icebreaker that someone came to me with, and I like the icebreaker. So I wanted to ask if you were a starburst, what color would you be? And I'll start off with Lady High.
You had to go to me first. I'd be blue. I would be a blue starburst.
Mm. What makes blue so special?
Cause blue is my favorite color for one, and two, it's a very calming color. A lot of people don't know that colors can play um, certain aspects of your life. Like, certain colors are power colors, others are calming colors, some are, you know, um, happy colors, you know. So, me always being ready to go, just revved up and ready to go. Sometimes I got to calm down. So, blue is my favorite color. So, I'll be a
Okay.
blue starburst. My flavor, that's where I would twist you up. I would be cupcake flavored, but I'm blue.
Awesome. What about you, Lady Lancaster?
Red.
That's my husband's favorite color.
Yeah. I would be
I
red.
red.
Um, just it's always been my favorite color. I remember it even in childhood. It describes my energy and my passion for life.
That's what's up.
Hmm. So when you say red, is that a cherry red or is that fruit punch?
Fruit punch. It's fruit punch.
So for me, it's also actually fruit punch. That's why I asked to be specific.
Yeah.
And
With
that's
that brick
because
red.
I think of punch as a little bit of everything. When
Mm-hmm.
you think about punch, it has a little bit of everything in it. But the thing about punch, and I might get in trouble saying this as a pastor, but the thing about punch is it always that finishing touch is that that thing that help you feel a little relaxed, and that thing that help you get through the rest of the night. And so it's kind of that occasion for me where I feel like it's a little bit of everything, amen. But there is some brightness, some light, some greatness that I can see at the end of the tunnel that keeps me going. Um, I thought Krista came back. I think Chris down again.
Maybe having some connection issues.
Yeah, I think it must be some technical problem. But so Patrice, you
Yeah.
are running for commissioner in what's the single member district?
8D06.
8B06.
D
Awesome.
is
So
in
what?
dog. 8D.
Oh, 8D. Okay, D as in donut.
Okay.
Is that?
Hmm.
It's D.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
okay.
starving. You gotta excuse me.
So what inspired you to run for commissioner?
I did not want to run for commissioner. I don't run for office normally. I'm a kingmaker. But after a year of lack of communication with the entities that make decisions, elected entities that make decisions in our community, and a, a few of them of the decisions that they made without our input and things like that that were very important. I decided that in order to repair the miscommunication would be to shake the table and run for office.
Now you say that communication word very strongly. And so I did take the liberty of looking up your campaign and whoa, wrong picture.
I'll be there too.
Sorry, sorry the producer. But you said your campaign flyer says committed to community communication and change. Most political platforms, most people when they're running, communication just isn't one of their things. So that definitely stands out to me. That you prioritizing communication as an elected official, um, and
Right,
I
because
think go ahead.
well, my leadership model is leading from behind. So that will require communication because I'm going to be empowering people to become self sufficient, to solve their own problems, or to be open enough to work collaboratively to solve the problems. So communication is key in any real leadership model that's effective.
That's very
And
true. I totally
oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
go ahead. I totally agree. I just thought I was saying.
I was just going to ask her, what kind of change are you moving toward? What are your pilot? I mean, what are your topics? The list of concerns from residents that need to be addressed first.
So for our community, the main one is the lack of communication. So that's the main thing that needs to change because we don't know the priorities of the community if we don't talk to them. We can just make assumptions based on what we see from our own myopic point of view. So the first major change would be um, communication. And in doing that, one of the things that I've done, I've created a listserv with the understanding that a lot of our seasoned citizens are not tech savvy enough to be on a social media or to, you know, play around on the apps and things like that to know what's going on. So I created a listserv so that they could get information in real time, but also am developing a mailing list. In the old days, we used to have this thing called the telephone tree. So the people that are comfortable with using telephone or text, they can get the information about what's happening or places that they need to be in order to have an input so that we can actually know what the issues are. If I was just to base it on assumption, we will have a rising public safety issue. We have conclaves in our community where violence occurs, but they don't affect the more residential portions of our community. But as we see that the opioid epidemic is being addressed in the further south, I guess it's further north part of our ward is being pushed now further to where we live and where a lot of our seniors live. So we will be doing some things about, I have already started holding conversations and learned that 50% of the opioid abatement budget has been cut. So we begin to do some things around that, some planning around that in order to keep my neighbors feeling safe and actually being safe, them and their things.
One more question.
Hmm.
Um, how would you put together a community transport for those seniors that are registered in your ward and need to get to the polls?
Again, that would be a communication piece. I had already planned. I have several friends that have transportation services. So I was going to utilize my campaign managers to create schedules so that the seniors that wanted to contact me via text or, contact me or however they want to contact me, we would schedule them and we could set up 2 or 3, because my single member district has about 4 blocks or 4 main blocks in the artery where I can meet the seniors and have them picked up, taken to the polls, and brought back.
That sounds good. Now, when you said communication has been missing, do you feel like that consists of the community being made aware of resources available, or do you feel like the government, as in your elected officials, haven't been responsive?
It's a little both, right? Because, the squeaky wheel, gets the oil. And then sometimes there's just an ignorance, and I'm not using it in a derogatory way, of how to navigate government resources. So sometimes just based on that ignorance, something that could be taken care of with one phone call based on the relationship could take 2 to 3 weeks. For example, my trash. We're having a huge issue with the property management firm that's managing several of the condo associations around here being negligent in picking up the trash. And to the point, I normally would just, sit back and try to see how long it would take. But when it gets too much, so this morning at 4 o'clock a.m., I got tired of the trash. Okay, so I took a picture of it, put it on Twitter, tagged the entities that I know would respond, and then I took the same picture and put it on Facebook again, tagging those entities. By the time I put the picture on Facebook, I had already received a call saying that, no, you need to tag this entity to pick up the trash. So I tagged that entity, and by the time I tagged them by 10 this morning, the trash was gone in both locations.
Oh, wow.
And you've seen the trash.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone.
I don't mean no harm when I say this, but I don't understand what people are working and getting paid to do. If you're neglecting the trash, then you're not doing your job.
Mm-hmm.
And you're collecting a paycheck. And I really feel strongly about this issue because trash over here where I live, the trash men don't even come through the alley anymore. They park at the end of the alley, drag our trash cans all the way down to the end, dropping trash along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't pick it up. And then they don't bring our cans back.
Mm-hmm.
They leave it down there at the end of the alley, and all of us, and I have a senior that lives right behind me, 89 years old.
Yeah, that's
Miss
my
Lucille. And I have to go down there, or my husband has to go down there if her daughter or her son didn't stop by to assist her that day. My husband or I have to go down there and drag Miss Lucille's cans back for her. So this is definitely a problem in the district. It needs to be addressed in all of the wards, really. But I am so glad that you have stepped up to do something about it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Like I say, it was with reluctance. Everybody want to be everybody wants to be a hero, but I don't mind leading from behind. But it's it's unfortunate that these entities exist and you have to apply pressure just to get basic things that they would provide for their own family or for themselves. Like, it's DPW's job is to pick up the trash, you know. And,
You're
and
right.
if there's a lack of understanding of maybe are the trash cans supposed to be placed at the end of the alley, then let's put it in the covenant so then we will know and have an agreement. So if we need to hire some assistants or, collect $5 or $10 from all the neighbors to pay the teenagers to take the trash cans down and bring them back, then let us, be the solution to our own problems. But first let us know, what the expectation or what the law is for this issue.
I want to
Mhm.
shift the conversation for a second. And I'm sorry, Shantae, I'll give you a chance to come back. But first, actually, let me just remind everybody, please like, share, make sure you bring your comments and your stars. Um, Support the People's Voice DC. This is strictly an independent program that we use strictly to bring information and reveal truth to our communities. But I wanted to show you something. This right here is a equitable development plan, or as some of us know, it's included in a community benefit agreement. This one right
Mm-hmm.
here was for the 11th Street Bridge Park.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Throughout Ward 8, throughout Ward 7, throughout DC, there has become an issue with community benefits agreements. There has become an issue with an agreement being made and them being enforced. And there has become an issue with agreements being made without the community. Your number one platform is communication. So I want to know your thoughts on what's been going on in our city and how you plan to do better.
So when you say our city, DC is two cities, all right? So what happens in one conclave doesn't mean it happens in the other. The more experienced conclaves dealing with the community benefits agreement, um, in my explanation of this, it'll also answer the question of what I plan to do if elected. The more experienced portion of the city dealing with community benefits agreements, first of all, divide their A and C commissions into committees. So nobody is overwhelmed or the direct point of contact. It removes the opportunity for impropriety, first of all, but it also spreads out the power and the responsibility so no one is overburdened, with extra free labor because we work for free, but it also just disperses the responsibility. So you have a lot of stakeholders dealing with the developer first at the zoning committee level before they even come before the executive leadership body of the ANC Commission. So as you develop this zoning committee, you find people that are experienced in development, people that are interested in development, people that have time to deal with developers. They come, for their own reasons, right? And so they deal with the developer. They have an idea already in mind of what they want to do in their community. The community that I lived in before I moved here to Ward, it had a certain rule that if you were building a certain size property, a certain percentage of it had to be family housing, meaning 3 bedrooms and up, or you would not be getting a letter of approval from us, period. But then on the zoning committee level also, we make sure that the developer communicates with the stakeholders or people that would be affected by their development. So we would touch them intentionally, talk to them on the phone, have the developer to have meetings with them where we would either participate in the meetings or actually have proof that they attended, and then they would give us written letters of approval. And this is still at the zoning committee level, right? And so
Right.
at that level too, we would ask them what they want. Now, some things can be impractical, but at least the conversations will be held by the people that will be directly affected by maybe a new construction and how it would affect their property, or just the fact that maybe an increased revenue or increased tax revenue would come, and how we would like to benefit from that. But that would be held at the zoning committee level, right? So then
Right.
that by the time it gets to the ANC level, the executive leadership of the ANC would accept the reports from the zone and then create, I would call it the consent agenda. That's what it's called, on the council level. Create a consent agenda announcing to the community that, hey, we're about to have a meeting, and at the meeting, we're going to discuss the approval of this development and a proposed community benefits agreement that was created by the neighbors and the people that live in close proximity to the development. Come to the meeting. And so then you could take a portion of the meeting on your agenda. Then you could take the 20 minutes or the 30 minutes where people in the community could ask questions or say they support it or say they don't support it, but flush it out, along with allowing the developer to have answer some questions, but also have the developer to make their presentation on what they would like to do, and things like that, but have that presented as a part of the culmination of the pre-work that was completed by the zoning committee. So then when you come and then you have that meeting, and then at the next ANC meeting, because you had discussion, now you have an opportunity to get input from people that may have not attended or wanted to put what they want to say in writing. So at the next meeting, that's when the vote will be held, after the amendments to the CDA. Yes, we approve. No, we don't. But the process has to happen like that. It cannot be, these decisions cannot be made in silos, because when they're made in silos, it gives opportunity for impropriety. It just does. And because where we are in 8D, we are at the beginning of gentrification, which is not always a curse word. It could be a good thing, or it could just be a change, which happens in any type of geography. But cities change. So yes, we understand that, and we understand that we need to address the housing density issue that we have in the city. But there's a smart way to do it, and it's being proactive, knowing what we want first. I hope I didn't say too much, talk too much. but that's how you solve it. Like I said, leading from behind.
I pretty much agree with a lot that you said, but I'm gonna have to disagree on the gentrification piece. And I'm speaking on a personal level because my entire low income family community has been dispersed all over this city, and some have been moved out of this city because they couldn't afford to stay here. And as a person who lived in that community for 21 and a half years, it affected me deeply when I had to move. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the points that you made, I totally am on board with, but I have to disagree with the gentrification piece. It is detrimental. It has shown that it's detrimental to the Black communities. It benefits our counterparts, but for us, they always make us promises that, oh, well, yes, we're going to build quote unquote affordable housing. And the question I always ask is, affordable for whom? Because somebody as a senior or a veteran or disabled are living on a disability check, a pension, or retirement, and they cannot afford thousands of dollars per month. So that's all I had to say about that.
So I agree with what you're saying. I come from Northwest. So for 13 blocks from North Capitol Street to Logan Circle, I had family that I grew up with, and now it's only 2 families left out of that 13 block radius that stayed there. So what you're talking about is called displacement. It's not gentrification.
Yeah.
Gentrification.
They gentrified our community. They tore down our garden style buildings for this big, huge 6 story building that starts on Morton Street and takes up all of Park Road. And the rest of our community, yes, has been displaced for the gentrification process to take place. And I took it upon myself to write an equity plan that would support Black residents, small businesses in the community, and all of that. The self-sustainability you speak of, the equity plan does that. Park Morton equity plan. Google it so you can see what it looked like.
I know the plan. I know some of the people that worked along with it.
Okay,
I actually just spoke to Onion a couple minutes, about an hour ago. You remember Onion?
Yeah. So they're going, they're going to tear everything down over there and rebuild it back up. And at this point right now, all the people who used to live there that have been displaced can't afford to go back. And they promised that they will build so that we can return. I have been fighting with the government, Robert White, the chairman of the housing committee. I've been fighting with Kenya McDuffie. I've been fighting with Brianne Nadeau, my own ward council member. Brianne was instrumental in blocking our TOPA and DOPA rights. So yes, we've had the displacement, but the gentrification, tearing down and building back up so only certain income classes can afford to be there, I don't like that. I don't agree with it. And I don't agree with trying to integrate low-income families with the quote-unquote upper echelon, because as a person who has lived on both sides of the tracks, where my daddy had money and my mama didn't, I saw how people with money, even some of our own people with money, treated people that had less than.
Yeah, it's historical. Yeah.
And we've been redlined in this city. So if that's happening in your community, you got to make sure that there are provisions in place that even people, because there are people who became disabled due to no fault of their own, and they'll never be able to work again. But Black people on disability are redlined in this city, and to keep them from, so you need to make sure that there are provisions in place that will allow everybody from the lowest of incomes to the highest of incomes to be able to purchase and own equally in your ANC SMD.
I hear you, and I hear you. But like I said, whatever the priorities are in our community, it'll be determined by the people in our community. And that might not be their priority. And then to address what you were saying about the displacement and things like that, Malcolm X had a saying that only a fool trusts his enemy to educate his children. And I'd like to add to it, only a fool trusts the government to house them. I am an advocate for economic self-sufficiency, and that's what I drive for, and that's what I teach. So leading from behind, I will help my people to be proactive in knowing what they want so that they can advocate for what they want, but also to help to create resources and to teach the self-sufficiency and resiliency that's needed in order to get what they want if the government is not facilitating it. But yeah, I am aware of what happened at Park Morton and 640, and it's been a long time coming, but I did anticipate this happening. The process is a little slowed down because something like that is similarly happening in Saratoga, but they're a little bit I want to say more organized. and that might not be the case. But it's not happening as quickly as as it happened at, I call it
in
640.
Uptown.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
land is more desirable.
Yes, for whatever reason.
People like
Um,
city. The reverse white flight brought the white community back to the city. They left en masse after Brown versus Board of Education. It's true. It's true, Mike. It's true. But then,
no, I just wish my man Chris was able to stay. Yo, I know he would have
yeah.
definitely agreed with you. But go
And
ahead.
so, and so that city living where you can either work from home or get to your children, or take your children to work with you. That type of lifestyle has become attractive again to the people that left because they didn't want their children to go to school with Black children. And
I
so
want
they're
to shout
coming
out my
back to
brother.
the cities in droves.
Are we back in the days of Jim Crow? I mean, because I swear
Yeah, it
at
never
different
left.
times it seemed like it.
It never left. He just put on a Brooks Brothers suit, and it's an economic Jim Crow. So the color piece has left.
Basically, his cousin Jimmy Crow.
Classism. It's classism now. So your Jim Crow could be JoJo Crow. They
Yeah,
came
his
from a
cousin
long
Jimmy.
line of Black slaves.
Mhm.
But they may have had a different position on money, and he may have been educated in a different type of conclave. And it's true, if you look at, well, let me shut up. But yeah, I'm hip. I'm hip. And I know the only solution in a capitalistic regime is to help people get capital.
Exactly. Capital
I
comes
want to
through.
shout out my brother, Pastor Mike Rose. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. He said a few
Yes, it
things, but
is.
the
Yes, it is. Oh, Merle.
last one, I agree 1,000% that this mayor shoulders a lot of what is going on in this city. But that's a whole nother subject.
That's a
Last,
hashtag on Twitter, or I'm sorry, X, formerly Twitter. They got a hashtag for Bowser that says billionaires for Bowser and Bowser for billionaires.
well, when I ran, I said Bowser was the mayor for businesses. That's what she is. But
Yeah, but
Patrice, let's talk about something else that caused a huge stir, if you will. I shared it. You made a post on Instagram that talked about, and I put it up. That talked about ANC Commissioner Wendy Hamilton, if you will, kind of being misleading with some things in the SMD. Now, for those who don't know, Wendy Hamilton is also running for the same uh, position as the ANC commissioner for your SMD.
hold
Uh,
up. Is that the same Wendy that ran for Congress? That's the same
yes,
one. Wait a minute, I ain't got my glasses on, so I can't really see. Hold on a second. Let me get my other set of eyes. Oh, it is okay. Jesus, shut up, Sean.
I can't with you sometimes. But yes, this is the same one, and I just wanted the people to have a clear understanding of some of the things that provoked you, number one, to run, and some of the things that we're talking about when we say communication need to be improved. Um, so, can you explain that post?
So we have development at the top of the hill. Is about 100 units. Affordable development right now. The parking is included, and the utilities are included as a part of the rent. Um, there's a developer that came through the process without the committee that I suggested, and got through the process all the way to the zoning commission. Two letters were sent to the zoning commission by the ANC. One was a letter of approval with reservation, and the other was a community benefit agreement. These decisions were made with the ANC commissioners, without them coming to the full body of the ANC to let us hash out what we wanted, what we didn't want, for us to even find out if the engagement occurred with homeowners who will also be affected by the construction of the conversion from 100 to 800 units. The ANC commissioner said she didn't hear any reservations. I also saw in the community benefits agreement that a white nonprofit will be getting free space in this new development. She revealed that to us. The council member was sitting beside her, Trayon White, and he even stated that that's not how it's done. You didn't do that correctly. So when I learned that she did it, that is it caused an issue. And so we had another set of players, the Civic Association, the Bellevue Civic Association, who I had been reaching out to just as a part of the way I was raised. You become civically engaged in your community to know what's going on, because if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So they had been ignoring me for over a year, and to the point that Phil Pennell from the Anacostia Coordinating Council, was advising me, saying, Patrice, you had to get these things together. So I contacted the Federation of Civic Associations and saw that they were not registered. And I just sent them a letter and told them they had until Friday of that week to respond to me. I had been waiting a year. And upon getting a response from them, I saw that they had created a community benefits agreement too. Problem was the leader of the Civic Association, they hadn't met formally in 5 years. And the leader of the Civic had been in Ghana, Africa for most of those 5 years. And they had created their own community benefits agreement and had not engaged any of the tenants of the community either. So these two community benefits agreements were about to go forward. Well, the Civic Association couldn't do anything, but the ANC's ones, normally you ask for 1 to 3%, 1 to 5% of the development. And the development would be
straight up asked for 30%. Our bottom line was 30%.
Oh, okay. And so, but our commissioner, she just decided to accept $200,000, $100,000 of which was going to a middle school that's outside of our
SME.
ANC. And the other money was going to nonprofits that were not Black led, and I always have an issue with that.
You ain't hear me when I grown, girl.
Even though one of them is very active and does a lot in our community, they do a lot. I have to give it to them. But we weren't given.
Don't get me wrong, but we have nonprofits too.
Yeah.
So they may not do the exact same thing as that other nonprofit that does a lot, but we have some nonprofits too, and we need investments.
Right. So what happened was we weren't given the opportunity to have those conversations. And as a result of that, we have been, I have helped to organize a homeowners association at the top of the hill, and also helped with organizing the tenants that actually live on the property, so that they can protest and be in position to get their TOPA rights, or to just make decisions about where they live. proactively.
So is it legal? I guess because it's called a community benefit agreement.
Mhm.
So is it even legal to submit one without having that meeting or without the community's input? That's
But
legal.
that's the way
You
the
can do
mayor
that?
has made
Not
it now,
supposed to.
Pastor Mike.
ANC commission, ANCs are not supposed to submit community benefit agreements at all. That's the first thing. They're not supposed to submit them at all. It's supposed to be done by a community group. But since our community group was jacklegged at the time and not functioning, it puts it on the tenants, right?
Mhm.
It's the tenants live there. And so now that they have organized, they should be the ones in making the determination of what they want to happen in the community.
So I'm gonna advise you now, being that I have fought for Topa Dopa and this community that is getting ready to be redeveloped. They're going to have to go. I don't know if it's the way the mayor done split up. DCRA is complex now, so I don't even know. I know you somewhere inside that building, you have to register for a tenants association.
Yeah, they did it. It's
Okay, good.
VLCP.
And what y'all gonna need to do next is put together a resident management corporation. And what the resident management corporation helps to do is to support, number one, support the tenants association, and number two, that they help to get jobs for the residents that are living in that community.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You know, it's like all the cogs in the machine have to work together. It don't matter how well oiled they are. If things don't line up, the cogs are not going to turn. The wheels are not going to, function properly. So along with that tenants association, that tenants association needs to create a resident management corporation. And that way, when things get ready to get redeveloped in their community, they got power to say, we don't want that.
Right.
Or when it's done, they got the power with the resident management corporation to say, hey, we have tenants right here who are skilled at plumbing, electricity, and require them to hire at least a 20 to 25% minimum of your residents.
Okay.
I mean, but my question would be, here we go back to the communication factor again. How are you doing this with the residents? Reverend Wendy, when I say that, Reverend Wendy is kind of popular. She is kind of trusted. She's a reverend. I would hope she's trusted.
Hold on, I gotta put you on hold 1 second.
Okay. But when it comes to saying, hey, look, but I guess the question is, how are you going to get people to see that what she put forward isn't pretty good? But to look at another community benefit agreement. Do you get what I'm saying, Sean? Like, how do you get people to say, well, no, that's wrong, but let's look at this other piece of community benefit agreement? You there, Sean? Sean, you there? Sean, tell you must be having problems.
I heard you, Pastor Mike.
Oh. I was like, hold up.
Yeah,
My network is tripping.
no, I had to take a little restroom break, but I heard what you said. You couldn't hear me answer back though. I was like, I agree.
It's just it's a matter. It just kind of looks like a battle of community benefit agreements. So I was wondering if you ever experienced that, where you have to go back with someone and say, "Hey, look, what this person did was wrong, but let's try to come back and create our own better suited for the community benefit agreement."
Mhm.
It just seems very, very difficult.
You know, this city seems to be counterproductive towards people who want better for themselves and their families. You know, I notice that every time somebody tries to do something to benefit the Black residents of this city, the city always goes back and either creates legislation or some kind of a bill or a rule or law that is counterproductive to what we're trying to do to actually close the wealth gap. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a huge wealth gap and disparity for Black families, and it really needs to stop. It's not fair that one particular group of people has all the equity, all the resources, all the everything, and then others do not. And then you're very selective about the ones you want to let into the inner circle. And that's where my problem comes in with Merle. Cause I'm telling you, Merle, that woman, I got some issues with her being selective about which Black businesses she helps. I got a
Mhm.
problem with, you know, her being selective over who gets to stay in this city. This is Chocolate City, and the majority of us, even if y'all don't know, I know that I was born and into a family with both captured and freed slaves, and some of my ancestors were sold from this city. My great granddaddy Willie Kelly High was one of them, who was a freed slave who turned sharecropper, and I learned
Mm.
that through the National Archives. So y'all need to take some time, go down there, dig up your roots, see what's going on.
Did you get the question, Patrice, that I had asked originally?
No, what was it?
I was saying that, Reverend Wendy is very trusted, and right now she actually has been saying that there's a campaign going around by her opponent to smear her name. And so my question was, when you talk about things like a community benefit agreement, how do you galvanize the community to say, "Hey, look, this wasn't right, but let's do this together"? It seems like, especially east of the river, it just seems like sometimes it's so hard. People always just go with the status quo,
Mm-hmm.
or they can't. It's hard for them to accept change, or that somebody did something wrong. How are you going about uniting a people to say, "Hey, look, we can do better"?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to them face to face. Wendy is trusted. She's a trusted campaigner. She campaigns all over the city and shows up at the right events. So she has a name for herself because of that. But I'm in the trenches and I'm trusted too. And people know me and they know that when I say what I say, I mean what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my integrity is not questioned in the community, even in things when people try to associate me with things, and they have happened where I have been associated or people have tried to accuse me of doing things that I had not done, and the things they've corrected themselves. But that's the difference between herself and myself. And if you talk to the residents of this community, like I do on a regular basis, you will hear their sentiments. And the sentiments differ from the trusted groups. Because, like I said, we have these self preservation circles that we make, and we make assumptions and decisions for people without actually really talking to them. And then you know, coming to find out that, hey, they weren't even involved in the process in the first place. Because there's no way to justify why you would give land to Jubilee Jobs. And I have the documentation. It's not anything I'm making up. Why you would put Jubilee Jobs in a community benefits agreement, and not saying that they don't do good work, but I understand that white nonprofits understand that they have to come east of the river if they're going to sustain themselves further. Right? And so Jubilee Jobs, and then also just to accept these other organizations, is like they were just thrown together, and then you just didn't get the community time to engage, period. You should not have voted on it outside of the general ANC meeting. It's just that simple.
Totally agree with that.
And I can attest to her lack of responsiveness. She lives across the street from me, and I'm from the streets. So from being from the streets, I have to see people before they see me. It's just something that was taught to me. So what I would do, I did it 5 times just to test to make sure I knew what I was talking about. I would see her and I would position myself to make it look like I didn't see her, so that
see her and see if she
So for 5 times she did it. And it's not just her, it's other members of the commission. We have an empty grocery store. I don't know if you know, but I was one of the administrators for the Ward 5 Mutual Aid. Through my work and my partnership with Good Foods Market in Ward 5, our seniors were fed daily with the support of Kenyon and the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the grants that Good Foods was making, and also with Murder Free DC, which was the violence interruption entity that existed then. National Geographic heard about our work and followed us for a day and gave us a full page article covering our work and how, and the theme of the article was how cities were responding to the pandemic to ensure that food systems were in place. So, and Wendy knows about my work there because her day job is in Ward 5, and the mutual aid paid for the actual headstone for one of her students that she lost from her school. So she knows, you know, she knows me. You know what I mean? I thought we had a rapport. I don't know what happened when I moved over here, but she had made the decision that I wasn't worthy of being engaged. So I'm not new. I mean, that's not lost with me either. When you know, you don't want to invite me to the table, I'll build another one.
That's right. Come on, because Jesus gonna prepare the table before. Not saying that she is your enemy, but prepare the table before your enemies. You know, and I say, ooh, when he do that, you gonna watch me eat, and you gonna watch me.
I come from a line of women preachers. Like my mother is a woman preacher that lose everything, you know, for this gospel, and now you want to use it and politicize it. How dare you come to a meeting with your preacher gear and your collar and get up and lie? So of course that's why I made that post. But I stand on it, and I had the supplemental documentation to show why I stand on what I said.
Oh wow! And now you said something that I totally agree with, which was she know how to show up at the right events and the right parties, because when she was running for Congress against the incumbent Eleanor Holmes Norton, I had an event at Park Morton and she showed up.
I remember.
You know, yeah, you
because Ward 1 is super voters. So if I was running a city campaign, I'm gonna hit Ward 1 too, hard.
Yeah, she showed up a couple times actually.
Because
there were a few times I had a few.
You got Latinos and blacks and whites. It's the best mix.
Yep.
And my first target. I'd be at the place that's across the street from the old black Hook Hall. I'd be at Hook Hall every day.
Hey, come on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Them days, boy, every time I took my child in that dinner office, Adventure Dinner, I'd be walking around in it. Yeah, I remember that time. I was standing over there with my drink.
You talk about something hurt. It hurt me to go up there. You talk about now. Hook Hall is a nice place, but every time I look across the street, my eyes water.
Man, listen, Adventure Dinner was the black hole, and Hook Hall was Murray. You don't even understand how bad I miss Murray.
Yeah.
Before we close,
the cheese surprise. You remember the cheese surprise burger from Murray's? I'm sorry, Michael. Hold on.
Yes, girl, come on.
Or the ribeyes.
Listen. When I was going to make me a good old fashioned meal, I would go up there and grab me some of them ribeyes.
Yes. And
I would peel my potatoes fresh and mash them. Girl, come on. Murray's helped me keep some food on that table.
Exactly. The ribeyes, the Star Crunch, and a 2-liter ginger ale.
And look, I never failed to forget my Rock Creek soda out of that junk.
Yes, that's the 2-liter. Yeah, that's the ginger ale junk. Yes.
Yeah.
See, Mike, you don't know. But,
I know.
But those things could be preserved. We just gotta fight for it. But let me say this one thing. I had called another ANC commissioner about the grocery store, saying that what I did in Ward 5, I could do there and had free food for our seniors, at least free produce, and people could pick up clothes. We had collected 20,000 diapers a month, so families was able to come and get what they needed for the babies as far as diapers. Those things add more bang to your buck. You know what I'm saying? Because those are costs that would be a tremendous cost saving to your households. So exactly. I was ignored on trying to duplicate that work too. That's all I wanted to say.
Wow.
Before we close, because it's great go to a close, but I wanted to, you are a Ward 8 resident, and I do ask everyone from Ward 8 just their thoughts. You don't have to be specific, but our brother, Trayon White, was recently locked up, well, should I say arrested, and indicted. He pled not guilty. What are your expectations for the results of this upcoming election for Ward 8? And do you believe that new leadership is needed in Ward 8?
Good question.
So I love Trayon. So I'm coming from that place. Don't get it confused. So I'm biased. I also but I love God's people too. And being honest, we as a community, a Black community in general, but especially in Ward 8, are not doing a good job in cultivating new leaders and new energy and new leadership. I think that the energy focus has to be there in order to, because clearly Trayon could have a guilty sign across his face in a picture of him handcuffed on a car as his political sign, and he still would win in Ward 8. They're not going to vote for it. They're not voting for it, especially not for a Republican. So it's clear that he is going to win. I was concerned with how, they arrested him, and things like that. It caused me some concern, but then they only indicted him with 1 count. What are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I mean? Because the level of investigation and all that stuff, you can only come up with 1 count. So it caused me to become like a little not trusting of the process or trusting of the intention of the goal of the process. Because when I first heard that he was locked up and heard why, I was like, oh no women, no children. You know what I mean? Like, oh, DYRS, those are most vulnerable babies. So that's my concern too, right? but in November he will win. We need to cultivate leaders.
We really do. I totally agree with that. And I don't know who's gonna do it. I'm like a human brain machine coming up with ideas all the time, but somebody needs. And if you use my idea now, y'all better give me some credit.
Yeah, I took notes on the
Even
resident.
if it's the listener, one of the subscribers, if y'all use my idea, just say I got this idea from Miss High.
That resident, look, that resident management association gonna be incorporated in October.
So that's all I'm saying. Just say, yep, Miss High gave me this idea. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Mm-hmm. But somebody needs to start a leadership group for these teens and young adults.
Yeah, we just had a wonderful, we had an advocacy. You got some sharp people. Most of the sharpest political minds are in Board 7. And I just went through an advocacy training even yesterday with Dr. Delia Housel Smith, with training some grassroots leaders. So we are trying to create little conclaves, yeah, it was top level, and I could see us duplicating that, and then there's a thing called asset mapping and things like that, because we have to teach our people that when they do get into these meetings and these conclaves, how to negotiate and broker power. It can't be screaming and hollering and having we need to we have to have a strategic plan.
Yep.
So,
and we need to make sure that the people who are communicating this are people who are willing to do the work, because you have some people that they'll take an idea, they'll run with it, and they'll talk about it and stuff, but then when other people give them feedback and try to work with them on that idea, they kind of backpedal like, nah, I don't think I can do that, and it's always an excuse. So we need to make sure that the folks who are going forth and speaking out about certain things, that if they are tasked to do so, because sometimes God worked that way too. God will come back around to you and say, hey, I done laid this path out for you. You need to walk right this way. Mm-hmm. So when they're tasked to do so, they need to be ready to put forth the time and effort to make things happen, especially if they really want to see change happen.
Yeah, we have to start paying Black people. Black people
and
have to start paying
Black people. And it is sad that has to happen, because there used to be a point that people would gladly volunteer in their community at one point.
But now everything is about 200 years behind. That's why we 200 years behind financially, because we haven't grasped that concept. Every other community does it. We have to pay our people.
Exactly. I mean, time is money, and time is, I say this all the time, time is a commodity that we don't get a return on that investment. Mm-hmm. So when you are putting out the effort that's going to take some of your time should be valuable to not only you, but to your children, your family, you know what I'm saying? The people you're going to serve. So folks get mad at me and be like, hey, Sean, can I talk to you? Is this on a personal level, or do you need some advice? Because if you need some advice, you do know I'm a life coach, and I got to get paid for my time.
I want to take a few moments and shout out the Dr. Delia Housel Smith. After you've already spoken her name, she has done an excellent job. Has been very diligent, should I say, in Ward 7 and for the city, should I say, as a whole.
And she's very humble. She don't toot her own horn.
Yeah, she's very humble, and very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But at the same, and very beautiful. But at the same time, just so diligent. That's just the word that comes to my mind. And as a matter of fact, I think we definitely need her here on
Yeah,
the People's Voice. I
Yeah.
think I will send out an invitation for the doctor to come.
Mhm.
But it was something else I wanted to say
since you forgot,
before we.
Patrice, I want to commend you for being in the trenches. It matters to me that people have done the work in the trenches. Okay, Pastor Mike, go ahead. That's all I'm gonna say.
I love you. I love you. I love you. Oh, this Friday, and I believe it's going to be going on for a few weeks.
Oh,
Tickets
doctor
start
in the
at
chat.
$20.
It's like Romeo
Oh
and
yeah,
Juliet.
I'll be there Friday as a guest of Anacostia Coordinating Council.
I will be there with you on Friday
Oh, you gonna be there?
as
Cool.
the
Can you
Anacostia.
send this to me, Mike, so I can
Bring
send it to some
snacks. You
people?
bringing snacks? Are you bringing snacks? You know that's the rule.
I will. Well, I always have my Hershey's
If
with,
you come
and I
on
want to
time,
say,
maybe we can have an early dinner. But you got to get there early. 4 o'clock.
for me, then it's fried chicken.
There's no fried chicken over there. What? Where you can get sushi?
Then praise the Lord. Pastor Mike don't eat no sushi. You got the
Oh,
wrong. You got to get Pastor Delonte. That's Pastor
oh,
Delonte.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Dr. Delia is here.
I just saw the comment. God is good. I'm honored to even have her watching the show. So
Me
awesome.
too. Honor.
Awesome. I would definitely send it to you, Miss Shantae High.
Thank you.
So look, we have a special treat. We are preparing, and I'm hoping that his schedule does not conflict, but we are preparing um for our representative, Mr. Oye,
Oh yeah.
um to come and join us the day after election day and analyze the elections.
Oh
So we
good.
have that coming
That's gonna be
up.
good.
Also, we have within the next couple of weeks, I want to raise awareness. Not only is October the best month of the year because it is my birthday month, Scorpio season is loading.
Today is my
But
mama's birthday.
oh, happy birthday!
Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
she turned
October
67 today. Yay!
7. October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Awareness month. Yes, girls, go put them boobies on the glass.
And
And
anti-bullying.
it's also something that's very dear to my heart, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. In
Survivor.
October, you said what?
I'm a survivor of DV.
Amen. Yes. So in October, you see me wearing a lot of pink and a lot of purple. And it's not because those are my favorite colors, but it's because I definitely value those two things. My grandmother is a survivor of breast cancer. I remember about 10, 15, actually about 15 years ago, when the doctors told us to get ready, that she didn't have but a few more months to live. And the devil is a liar because my
Devil
grandmother
is
is still here with us today. Thank God.
God
Um,
heals.
My mom had it 3 times.
yeah.
God healed her
And
3 times.
speaking of domestic violence, oh wow, wow, God is still,
Sad
God
to
is a
say,
keeper.
my mama's sister, my aunt, didn't survive it.
Sorry to hear that.
God is a keeper. But speaking of domestic violence, the People's Voice will be soon launching an in-person workshop once a month when it comes to domestic violence. We will cover the 5 areas of domestic abuse. But before then, this month, we have a special guest. Um, we have a victim of domestic violence. We have an LGBTQ victim of domestic violence, and we have someone from I'm trying to get it right, the DC domestic violence office, I believe it's called. But we have someone from them coming on, and so we have a whole episode that's just going to raise awareness and answer some questions and give out some resources that's dedicated towards domestic violence. And I believe that's going to be the third Wednesday of this month. So I'm very excited about our domestic violence episode. We're branching out, and we're although this is a political based podcast, it's the people's voice. So we want to make sure that we do things for the people. That's not always politics. Sometimes it might be a group that's out doing stuff for the community, or it might be someone who is an up and coming artist that we just might want to highlight in our city. So those are the things. We are growing, we are expanding. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you share, and on Facebook, make sure you send them stars. Okay. Do you have anything to add before we close, Lady Hi?
I'm just grateful for the opportunity to keep meeting such dynamic people in this city that wants to make abundant change. And thank you so much, Miss Patrice. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, I know you didn't want to do it. We never want to do it, but God called you to the task. So thank you for taking that time, and I'm gonna be rooting for you.
Also, I'm going to wait and say
Thank
Patrice
you.
for the last one. But also, I want to let everyone know that ANC 7E. Should I say the mighty? That's my ANC SMD. Okay, the great, the mighty 7E. We will be holding a public meeting on October the 8th at the Capitol View Library. There's a lot of things going on. We have Fletcher Johnson development that's going on. We have JC Null, our school fields are being taken over. East Capitol Street and Benning Road is being reimagined. There's a fight for the wasting money, the ever so money wasting streetcar to be expanded to Benning Road. So make sure you make sure that you come to our 7E ANC meeting. Also, govern yourselves accordingly on the weather. Tonight there's expected to be 62 degrees low. Cloudy skies. We keep seeing this cloudy in the forecast, but every time we go outside, it seems to be drizzling. So govern yourselves accordingly. Welcome the sun back. Thank God we will get some sunshine back starting tomorrow, and we'll be back into the mid 70s. Thank you for joining us, Miss Lancaster. We will let you
For
close with the
having me.
final word.
Yay!
I want to thank you all for having me. It was a very robust conversation. I know a lot of people are surprised because they thought I was going to be a little more belligerent in my comments. Not necessary. And code switch when necessary.
Hey,
I thank you for the opportunity to speak. And if there's anything that I can do, to support you in your work, I will. But again, many thanks. And I want to acknowledge Dr. Housel Smith as well and Mike Rose for their comments.
yes, thank you to all the viewers, subscribers. We appreciate you.
See you next Wednesday, live on the People's Voice.